you know, you talk about learning and experiences. You had quite an experience with Hans Zimmer when he asked you to sing Purple Rain, something you thought you could never do. Tell us that amazing story.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a tricky one because my dad was unwell,
Right.
and he long term had various cancers, but he was always on his feet. But just as I left for the tour, he was starting to go downhill. It's a bit kind of like, is he going to be all right? So I was getting all of these reports that he wasn't doing so great, and this was a long tour. So I did warn Hans that my dad was not very well, and we set up a situation so that I had a deck ready in case I needed to go home. And Prince passed away in, I think it was the May, was it the May? I think something like that. I'm not sure about the dates, but he that impacted me really hard, and I felt really upset in a way that didn't make a lot of sense to me. I had seen him live. I took my kids to see him live when he was at the O2. That was great. I'm so glad they got to see him. I wasn't a massive fan though. I had a couple of records. I don't buy a huge amount of records, popular artists, but I did have Love Sexy and something else and Sign of the Times. And I thought, you know, it's quite momentous that he's gone, Prince, because he was one of, if not, I would actually have described him as the last genuinely kind of funk artists that was mainstream, that was left. There's no more. He was the last one for me.
Mm.
That was actually crossed over into that kind of territory of actually being a superstar, because all the other artists were kind of low radar and have got their niche fan base, but not so well known, you know. So when he went, I was just like, this is the end of an era. We're never going to hear any funk on British television again. I was like, no, gutted. So we stayed up having a drink and, you know, toast to Prince's memory and playing tunes in my hotel room. I think we all went to bed about 5 a.m. Really, really like a little bit hungover, to be quite honest. We did have a gig that next day, but we were tour warriors. We were used to all of that. So it's fine. But then as I was packing up to go to sound check, Hans phoned up and said, "We're going to do a tribute to Prince later. Will you sing Purple Rain?" And I said, I've never sung that before. I've never sung anybody's song before because I had been singing in my own band, but I've never sung a cover because I'm not a singer. I was just singing my songs. He said he heard my hesitancy, and you know, Hans being Hans, he's I don't know what the term I could use. I was going to say something that's quite British, but it's quite rude at the same time. Anyway, he the term is pussyfoot, right? You know what pussyfoot means?
Yeah.
Okay, it's pussyfooting around. Okay, doesn't translate in America so well. Anyway, he was like, you know, you could heard my hesitancy, and he said, well, look, he was to the point. If you don't want to do it, we'll get someone else. And I said, why? Wait. So I realized that if I said no, I might really kick myself later. So I said, okay. And then I was panicking and I was packing my bags and I downloaded the lyrics because I didn't actually know the lyrics of the song. I scribbled them out on some hotel paper, and then I was trying to learn it while I was packing my bag. We went to sound check, and on the bus, it was quite a ride. On the bus, we were practicing the song, and then sound check, we tried it. I mean, I had like an hour to learn the whole thing, and I was reading it off a bit of paper. You know, it's like when you play bass and you sing, you have to embed this stuff
Yeah.
because the rhythm.
You're going in two different directions.
Well, it's either one or the other. You're going to play the bass line right, or you're going to sing right.
Yeah, exactly. I was fortunate because that bass line was very
Simple.
yeah.
Right, all quarter notes.
Because I was
Yeah. None of
but
that 16th note.
yeah, right. Okay. So I did manage to I kind of had my audition in sound check really, and he heard it and he was like, yeah, it's cool, you can do it. So I did it, but what happened in the actual gig was that by now my late night 5 a.m. had caught up with me. Also, the fact that my dad was ill and wasn't looking like he was going to make it through summer. Actually, I kind of knew that he wouldn't make it through summer. It just hit me, and we were on stage, and you know I was up at the mic, and there was 11,000 people there. I'd never sung in front of a stage, an audience that size personally, for my own stuff. And we did the first verse, and then we were about to sing the chorus, and until we got to the chorus, I was playing like this and looking down because my tech had written out the lyrics in Sharpie on white paper, so I could read it because I didn't know the lyrics very well. So I was reading these lyrics, and they got to the chorus, and I looked up, and at that point I saw that everybody had their iPhone lights on and stuff. Got choked, and I was like, purple rain. But luckily there's a couple of other singers out of there and they took over, but I was a bit like, you know, bit of a mess, but it was amazing. And you know, I kind of critique that because you know, I'm not a singer by trade. I've done a bit, but I also had, you know, all these excuses that people have. I didn't sound as well as good as I would have liked to have sung, but it does feel, even now, you know, I'm really glad that I did that because it was such a special moment for all of us, actually. Just felt really good, just felt good. It might not have been the slickest kind of production of all time, but it felt good, you know. And
Sure, you did it.
This big show with so much production around it, and then we just played like just as a band, you know, for a few minutes. It's really lovely. So yeah,
that's great.
You've been preparing your whole life for it, really.
You know what? That is so on the money, because if I hadn't done the talking in front of the crowds at the colleges work to get through my nervousness and that, and got used to singing and playing, which I did because I had the college bookings to do these workshops, I wouldn't have been able to just sing and play that song.